if you look at these dialogues with large language models, they're clearly part of this dialogue has to do with building an authority relationship with the machine. And in these relations, there's the funny thing that you have to project a theory of mind on the artifact, on a technology. So a theory of mind is, you probably know, is the ability human consciousness provides us with of having an idea that somebody else is thinking about something which might not be the same thing, something that we are thinking, right? So you attribute something or someone with the possibility to think about the world, and more than that, to have ideas about the world that are not the same as we do. That's a very important development in our evolutionary trajectory, right? The idea is that we have this disposition of personifying machines, and these machines, they respond to that in a very competent way. It's a very good trick that they play, right? And more than that, if you're dealing with one of those agents, you don't have a choice not to do that, because you can't get what you need from the model unless you play this game of pretending the model can think. In the long run, right, these models get artificially reinforced because we adapt to their language, and there is this risk, right, that language as a living thing will have some sort of impact, right? It's like an environmental impact. We can hypothesize that with this amount of text and this amount of human artificial intelligence interactions, automated interactions going on every day in practical language use, there are going to be consequences. All right, but that's not the central point. The central point is, okay, to analyze this sort of interaction, then I'm proposing to adapt the engineering symbiotics model with some input from post-phenomenology. And then the idea is to think that now that the agent is supposed to be intelligent, then it's up to us to use some kind of metacognitive or second order thinking, not second order communication, but second order thinking in order to be able to play the game. So it's like our message is that we must pretend that the machine has a mind and that the machine shares semiotic content of the symbols that for us are words, and for the machine is basically a sequence of symbols, an informational pattern. And if you're not able to do that, then you can't operate on the machine. And so what you have is adapting your discursive or linguistic competence to the algorithmic competence of the machine. And here's where posthumanism speaks loud, right? Are we modeling humans in artificial intelligence or vice versa? The idea is that inside the relationship with the machine, which is, it all works as if the machine were a social partner, then there is the user decoding how the machine is doing the trick and adapting to the trick, and that would be a hermeneutical relationship. But then there is all the backgrounding of the corpus and of these humans that are filtering this content and making it sound natural by eliminating whatever the machine produces that's not natural, and then feeding back with these error patterns to adjust the database, right? It's a much more complex, let's say, conversation between user and designer, or should we say between society and technology providers such as the big techs, the designers of artificial intelligence, right? So if you try to apply the model to do some sort of analysis, right, and this is what I'm doing right now, what I'm sharing with you, you can break down these conversations in the different kinds of relations, right? There is authority going on at some point. There is, interpretation of the world through the model. So understanding how the model sees the world, or how the model lets us see the model in the world. And then there is backgrounding, right? When For instance, the model speaks of itself as if it were human, but then not only trying to be a partner, but also hiding the fact that it's not. So here's one example. Here's another example. What I'd like to note here is that if you address the model in a social way, then it will stay in that mode, and then this illusion grows. But then if you address it with reference to some kind of knowledge without personifying it, then chances that an authority relation is carried on are lower. So that speaks to literacies, right? Artificial intelligence literacies. How much do we need to be in the game to, reap the benefits of artificial intelligence, and how much this game is, basically diverting us from the real meaning and the real function and real nature of natural language when you try to, play the game of treating the machine as a human. And that's not because humans are superior or inferior. This is like a symmetrical approach. That's why I'm bringing Bruno Latour to the picture. But the idea is the way it's being done is also anthropocentrical, right? It's what I call anthropocentrical engineering, right? All right, so what are the implications for the posthumanist applied linguistics? Well, there's an issue here about alterity and otherness, right? Otherness is more than just dialogical competence, right? Otherness has to do with, situated selves, with histories, with bodies, right? And you can't just, erase that with plausible texts, right? Then there's the case of what's the responsibility of the producers and of the users in these different modes of relation with the technology, right? Then there is what's going to happen to languages in terms of variation, change, and linguistic creativity with the use of such massive models of language that they just average out text that they brought from a corpus that's not a conversational corpus. Really, it's not, it's a very standardized corpus, right? And then what's the impact of this second order thinking, right, in the automation across genres, and in the case of language learning? The idea is when I'm interacting with the machine, there's a kind of second order thinking going on. That's not the same as when you're interacting with a human who's a speaker of a second language, although we know metacognition is going on too, right? What's the impact? So you can think of these models, right? And the way this is being done, by employing people that are hidden in poor countries and taking care of things the model can't handle, so you claim the model can handle things it really can't. It's an assemblage, it's not one persona, right? And so this reminds me a lot of the idea of a plantation, or reaping or harvesting consciousness in the South to produce something that's more that's modern and that's Western, right? Then there's the idea of the natives, and when I say native here, it's in the anthropological way, meaning really. Natives' natural languages need to be adapted to these reductionist ontologies and epistemologies of language. It's not just a matter of solving my problems by using the way the system works. With this amount of text being churned out every day and how useful it is, it's pretty much a blow in a lot of our considerations about the nature of language. And then there's the issue of anthropocentric engineering, which I think we do a lot more for posthumanist applied linguistics by questioning this, how reducing humans to an engineering project is a form of colonialism, right? And so thank you for watching. This is some related work that I've been doing. My contact details are here. I'll be glad to be in touch if you have any comments or criticism or questions.